Hey there, everybody. How's it going? Hope you all are having a good time, enjoying Global Hack Week. Hey there, Quackers and Cheese. I'm Kritesh. See a few folks talking about the check-in link. I think our check-in link is probably not right there. Give me a minute to check on that for you. See if I can do that myself. I'm pretty sure I'm not able to fix it myself, but yeah, maybe I can. It's always worth checking out and seeing if you can do it for yourself. But yeah, how's everybody's hack week going? Is there any stream you caught that you liked? Let us know. Love to hear about it. Just trying to fix this check-in link for all of you. All right, well, since it's hard to get the check-in link going, why don't we just go to support tickets and we can try it from there. So we might have to ask you all to fill out a support ticket and just include a screenshot, and you can get some credit for this event. I'll put the link for that in the chat. But yeah, it's great to be here with all of you, and allow me to sort of get our slides up and running. We're going to be talking about cloud storage and databases today. So let me run those for you. Let's see here. Perfect. Always good to have your slides. Very important stuff. But yeah, did anybody see any great streams this week? And mind you, the streams they're far from over. We still have another whole day to go in the schedule. Day 5 and day 6, actually. Quackers and Cheese says, I liked Cecilia's Get Good with Git. Yeah, Cecilia's great. And that sounds like such a fun stream. She's got a good talent for naming the stream. Yeah, so that's awesome. And before we continue, I wanted to just introduce myself. So I'm Steven, I'm your MLH coach. I've been hacking for almost 10 years now, and I'm super excited for Global Hack Week. And just don't forget to check in for this event. I'm going to actually copy that link so that you all have it too. But actually, we're not going to use it. Sorry, I forgot that it's not working. So use support tickets instead. All right, and we'll get you credit for the event. All right. So yeah, before we begin, I wanted to ask you all, what's your biggest challenge with cloud data? And feel free to answer it or not. I find that probably the biggest challenge is, it's kind of hard to know exactly what resources are free and which ones aren't, I think, at times. That is probably one of the biggest challenges, I think. Because, these companies, they always want you to buy their stuff and put your credit card in and stuff like that. And it can get pretty tricky pretty quick. So I think that's a big one. And if anyone else has one they want to share, feel free to. But while we're waiting for those answers, I want to get you set up with AOS free tier. So I'm going to actually we're going to do this ourselves, do this together. I'm going to paste this link in the chat to our free tier. And yeah, we're going to try it ourselves. So, yeah, let me try and get that up and running. I went to this website here, which is our AOS free tier website. Even have Amazon Q. That's interesting. I've never seen that before. But let's not get too distracted. I'm just getting distracted by all the flashy buttons on their website. That's what Amazon's known for, right? All these A/B testing of the buttons and things to get you to click on the website. So let's try create a free account. And you're going to want to give them some root user email address and some AWS account name. So I'm going to call this Cloud Week. And for our root user email address, I wonder if I can use mine. I'm not sure. I've already used mine. All right, looks like it worked okay. At least, right? Not too bad. And yeah, let's try to keep going here. So we'll think of some kind of password to give it. I don't want to just come up with a password from no, they should match. Perfect. All right, so I came up with some password here. And the free tier has a lot of options here. So we probably want to just have something that's always free, which is our AWS free tier, and we'll do that. And let me just put my address information in here. Don't want to give anything away, personal details and whatnot. But yeah, if you have trouble doing any of this, let me know. And then this is a really important thing to remember here, which is the next step. So you can say, it says, we will not charge you for usage below AWS free tier limits. We may temporarily hold up to $1 USD or the equivalent amount in local currency as a pending transaction. So they may charge you about $1, but if you choose to go through with this, you will not be charged as long as you don't hit those free tier limits. And for today's demo, we definitely will not be hitting those limits. So it's sort of a do at your own risk type thing. I can't guarantee that you won't have any charge, but we'll show exactly how we can try to avoid these things too. Okay. So I'm pretty confident we can avoid those charges. So I'm going to type in my credit card information. Hopefully, I don't screen share and show everybody on the internet my credit card information. That wouldn't be very fun. All these verifications with text messages, sending you text messages and things like that. Okay, so here's the next thing that you'll want. You'll go to sign up for AWS and you want to choose basic support free. So these developer and business supports, I'm sure they could be very nice to have, but no, we don't need those things. All right, so now it's signing us up for AWS, which is great. And it says it'll activate our account, which should take a few minutes. And in the meantime, let's go to the AWS Management Console. So yeah, you can see, I guess they have this new thing called resource search. That's kind of cool. But yeah, there's a lot of really neat things you can learn about, a lot of neat trainings and things like that. One thing I'll point out is if we go to billing and cost management here, I believe we could check this budget management. Create a budget. And you can see, just take a look at this. So we're using a template budget, zero spend budget. And we're going to say create a budget that notifies you once your spending exceeds 1 penny. which is above the AWS free tier limits. Okay, and we'll call this our zero spend budget. And if you have an email address that you want to put in here, I'll put mine in here. And you see the scope here. All services are in the scope of this budget. And as it says, we'll be notified via email when any spend above 1 penny is incurred. So let's create that budget. Okay. So the reason we have this on here, as I mentioned, is we're going to be using our free tier, but I just really want to make sure that you all don't get any charges that you're not expecting. So if you do get some kind of limit breached in this case, then it will just tell you. All right, there's a lot of other really cool stuff in here. If you wanted to look in the left hand corner, there's so much interesting stuff for billing and cost management. This is cool too. I've never seen any of these interesting solutions here. But yeah, could be interesting, could be worth checking out. But we have more work to do, so we can't just rest on our laurels now that we've set up our AWS. We actually have another thing to do, which is set up our CLI. Okay, so let's actually, let me just quickly share this in the right way here. There we go. So we'll set up our CLI. And you'll want to go to this link. I'll send the link to you all in the chat. But I'm going to click in as well. And I'll show you what it looks like when we go there. So we're headed to, interesting, we have focus mode. That's pretty cool. Turn on focus mode, why not? It's good to focus. But yeah, this topic describes how to install or update the latest Amazon command line interface, which is how we're gonna, which is one way we can communicate with AWS. Okay. So for me, I'm on Mac OS. So I can install using this. Looks like we can use a GUI installer, and I'd love to do that because I love good GUI. So let's install. And I'll show you what I'm seeing here. So we're going to just accept the terms of this CLI software. We can install for all users of the computer. We'll do our install. And I guess I'll have to type in my password. Takes a minute. says less than a minute. That's encouraging. Nice. So our installation was successful. So we now should have our AWS CLI, but we'll just check our Opera browser just to be sure. Use this shell again to check this out. So let's try this. Let's try these commands in our terminal. Alright, so we'll try which AWS. And check it out, everybody. We have our command there. And we can try AWS authentication. Oh, thanks, Crackers and Cheese, for telling me about that. Let's try to fix the audio. Okay, this may fix the audio a little bit. I'll type reduce mic background noise. Get a little bit louder. So hopefully that helps a little bit. Sorry about that. But yeah, we typed these commands, and I'll place them in the chat too for you, so you can read them. Just to get verified up and running with AWS. And you can see we now have our command line interface for AWS, which is going to be really cool. And the first command we're going to do is a configuration command. So we're going to type AWS configure. Type that in the chat too. And hit enter. It tells us what is our AWS access key ID. And so if we go back into our website here, we're going to need to credential. So I'm trying to get back to my AWS console. There we go. It was up here. Yeah, there we go. So we're basically going to navigate to the and I'll send you this chat. I'll just type it in because it might be slightly different for you. And you can see this is to streamline your workforce users' access to AWS. Okay. So we can basically access our AWS network. We'll type it here. That's probably going to be important later. I want to read that. now we have our IAM console ready to go. And we can go to users, add user, and we can put some information in here. So let's give it a username. Not sure. Stevo. That's a fun name. And then I'll give it an example. A one-time. Actually, I'm going to give it a one-time password that I can share with the user. I'm gonna hide that from all of you. But oh, let's do it. Yeah, that's good. Use my email and yeah, we're going to generate this password. And then, as far as all this other stuff goes, I'm pretty sure we don't need to do this, but you could theoretically tell all this information about this user, right? And so let's say you have a really big project where you have a lot of people trying to access data in this database or make changes to your AWS. You're working in a huge organization. You probably want to put this information in because yeah, you just want to know about your user. Um, yeah, let's continue. And so then the next question is to actually approve access. Actually, let's go back there and see if it's go down. And if it's so, if this is okay too. I'm just worried if I accidentally show the password here. It doesn't matter too much. Just going through, add user. Okay, I got my password. Just writing it down so I don't lose it. All right, so we now have a portal for us to get access to this information. And I think if we were to go into our terminal, we can access this here. So we'll go back into our terminal. Here it is. And we're going to type the following. So we'll use AWS configure SSO. And we're going to give some kind of session name here. So we'll just call it GHW workshop. And for a start URL, we'll use our login URL, which we would have gotten from before. So I do have that. I wonder if it doesn't like let's try that again. Dang, I wonder what the issue is here. Let's go back to our web server here. Looks like we can just type this in to our Opera, to our Access portal in Opera. And that seems to work. So now I can log in through here. I guess we'll just try it this way. Wants me to do multi-factor authentication, which we could. I think I should be able to here. Nice. All right, so that's how you provision a user here. Guess I could create a new username. I want to make sure it matches my other username I created. Let me check my notes here. Looks like it does. So that's really good. Yeah, just for safekeeping, let's save that. All right, so you can see there's no necessarily any access here. So that's because we could have permissions. Oops. Okay, it should have worked now to reset the username and everything, verify the email. Oh, got to verify the email. I guess I forgot to do that. Come on now, come through and there we go. Verify your email address. Let's refresh and see if it took that. Nice. Okay. So we got our stuff going here. Very important step. It's amazing how much stuff you need to do to securely set up an account these days. Yeah. But let's assign these here. So we're going to start by clicking on AWS accounts. And we can click assign users or groups. Oh, sorry. We have our Cloud Week account. And we're going to assign this user Stebo. All right. And we could create a permission set for administrator access to provide full access for this user. Now, there's other types of access you can provide, like billing. So the person could look at the billing for this. There's also database administrator, which, let's actually do that instead. Grants full access, permissions to AWS services, and actions required to set up database services. I feel like that should be enough, but if it's not enough, we can always come back and update it. And we will click Create. Hey there, Dat0. I like your penguin avatar. But welcome for the chat. So yeah, we just created a permission set for one of our users, and we could continue to create these for different accounts. You could make accounts for all your friends or all your team members or anyone working with you on your databases, and give them very specific permissions. You can even get as specific as to define permissions specifically for one database, but not another. So that's totally possible. But yeah, let's continue on here, and we'll get started with a few different explanations here. So first, I wanted to talk about cloud storage types. So there's a few different types of cloud storage. One of them is object storage, where you can essentially store a single data, such as an image or a video or some backup from your system. Another type is block storage. So with block storage, you could provide low latency storage for virtual machines, databases, anything that needs that low latency storage to have fast recall. And then third, we could offer a file system interface where we could share data between multiple machines. So this is really like massive files that you could share, like data sets and things of that nature. And there are two main types of database models. So first we have our SQL, or relational database. And that would help us use what we call structured query language. And it's really what we're going to be working on today. It's the kind of thing we'll be working on today. And so, that'll be good for us today. And then the other thing is NoSQL, which is a non-relational database designed more for unstructured or maybe semi-structured data. And so this is something we could use, for example, for MongoDB, which could have more of a NoSQL character to it. And there's advantages for both. So for example, with SQL, one of the advantages is that you can enforce a specific schema. So you can make it so that your transactions, that they follow a very strict format. And if they don't follow that format, it won't work. Right? And so then the other way we can do this is through NoSQL. So that's designed more through unstructured or semi-structured data. And it's going to provide more flexible schemas, and that will have really great benefits for more scalable applications and things that are requiring that flexibility. So the quiz question here is, based on the slide, what do you think is the main difference here between these, object storage and block storage, which are the two things we covered in the previous slide? And remember, object storage is just a single object. It could be an image, could be a video. Block storage is where we're provisioning a certain block of resources for an application that needs them in a high, low latency, high throughput environment, right? And so those are our basic ideas, and I'm just going to dive more deeply into those. Oops, went too fast. And first, object storage is designed to store a vast amount of unstructured data. So you can think of it like a huge data lake where every image or video is stored along with its metadata. And providers like S3, for example, which is, we're actually going to talk about S3 today. This is what they use. So we're going to talk about that. And then another one is block storage, which is we're not going to talk about as much. But this is great for databases and applications that require fast and predictable performance. So you could think of things like Amazon EBS and Google Persistent Disk. We won't get into these too much today, but just wanted to touch on those so that you know the difference between the two. All right. And then file storage, as we mentioned, this is something like NFS, Network File System, but in the cloud. So we could use Amazon EFS, Google File Store for this. Those would be examples of services for that. Okay, and so let's continue on, and we're going to worry about our AWS console once more. Here it is. So remember, one of the great things we can do here with AWS console is we can provision storage. So let me just double check my notes here. I should be able to click into this top search bar and just type S3. All right. And S3, you may have used this before, you may not have used this before, but it is a scalable storage solution in the cloud. So you're gonna you're going to click this to open this dashboard here. And once you're here, you can see it says store and retrieve any amount of data from anywhere. Oh, that's great. And so we want to actually go ahead and click Create Bucket. And we want to enter a unique bucket name. All right, and so I'm just going to call it my demo bucket, GHW. Okay, and so that would be really good for our purposes. We don't need to worry about this low latency use case. We could just use general purpose. And then as far as object ownership, this is controlling the ownership of the objects written to the bucket. So it means that all objects in this bucket are owned by this account. So even, it's not that you can put an object in and own access to that as another user. No, this would mean that all the objects in this bucket are owned by this particular account. And as far as blocking all public access, we can just block that. That's pretty good. We don't want random people to add stuff to our AWS S3 bucket. And then as far as bucket versioning goes, we can just disable that. I don't think we need anything for that. And we have our default encryption. So this is just going to make sure that there's security, to enable that. We don't necessarily have to enable this, but it's definitely safer to do so. So now when we scroll to the bottom here, we should see Create Bucket, and we should be able to click that. So now it's going through and it's creating that AWS object. And it looks like we have it. So let's click on it to check it out. Some metadata here. Permissions, metrics, and so on. So we could actually upload an object from wherever we want, literally just any file or folder, and we can put that in there. It's pretty cool, right? So yeah, we've created our AWS bucket, and now we're going to do some fun things with it. And I'm going to give you guys about a 2 or 3 minute break to try and catch up with this, and then we will come back shortly. All right, so hopefully you had a minute to try and catch up on this. And now we're going to continue by logging in through our terminal. So we might remember before I was having some trouble with our terminal. I think I figured out how to get through this on our break. So basically, the reason was I was missing one part of this command, which was the SSO. So once you type AWS configure, that's fine, but we want to try and type AWS configure SSO, which will be more secure. So for any session name, we can just type in GHW workshop. And for our session start URL, we can use our login identity center, which is the one we got from making our user. As far as our region goes, you saw the region. And for registration scopes, we'll just hit enter to continue, and it brings us up into a link, which should send us to our account login. And I'm just gonna try and type that in. I do have my password somewhere in my notes. Of course, you always manage to lose your password, don't you? It's very easy to. Always with the dual authentication stuff. That's pretty annoying. Let's see, I think there must be some way for me to log in here. It's just giving me trouble with my passkey. Classic. Let's try again here. Oh, dang. Might need to actually change the browser that things open up in order to get this logged on. Let's try that. Let's try fixing this settings to make this the default browser. Goodness gracious. All right, let's see if this works now. Maybe it'll open into the right place. Get my start URL back. Should be up here. Hmm. Okay. Maybe we did need to make this admin access after all. Let's try and check that out. That might have been the problem we had. Let's investigate here. We can go back into our AWS account. We should be able to assign our user with more permissions. Let's see if that works. Try to assign it some administrator permissions. So now, hopefully, we can sign in using SSO. All right, maybe it's a result of the fact that I might be using the wrong username. Let's see here. Let's try that. So you can see I already tried. How do I make Opera my default browser? I thought that was the issue. But yeah, I thought I would be able to get this, but I guess not. There's definitely this one here that we could presumably sign into. But for whatever reason, it doesn't want to do that for me. We could try to add a new user. I think that could be the answer. Let's try that. I'm going to try my email again, same email as before. I guess I have to add in a first name and a last name too. Looks like that didn't work for us. All right, folks, well, we can just continue along then. I'll show you the relational database aspect of it. So I was going to show you, if you go to Amazon RDS, this is a great place where we can create a database. So you might remember we had several of these choices for SQL type databases, and one of them could be MySQL. So we don't want to necessarily create this database because it'll be too expensive, but just wanted to show you that option. Okay, and I'll show you a few options of how to create these SQL commands. So one of the ways you would do it is to click to run table. So we could create a table using auto increment primary key and just have some random products that we would put in that are widgets, gadgets, and doohickeys. And we would try to, then we could try to retrieve the data. So what would the output be of this command? So I'll tell you, it would be to select all the products. From here. And what could you do to speed up a query that would search by name instead of just, searching for all of them? Well, there is actually an answer. No fear. We can use the following, adding an index. So an index would essentially create an index along with the product name column, and then you could run select query again based on this and restrict to only specific products. And what's one benefit of adding this index to the column? Speeding up data retrieval. That's one example. And which AWS service provides object storage and is free up to 5 gigabytes? That's Amazon S3, which we built our own Amazon S3 bucket today. So excellent work with that. And so thank you. And so we're going to have another stream here, which is actually not Bully's stream, but it's going to be let's see, I think it should be welcome to sockets. So hopefully that is kind of a fun workshop for all of you. And I'll put the check-in link in the chat. See if I can get the check-in link. And yeah, I hope you all enjoy Alberto's stream. Take care.